All right. We cannot wait to talk today to other working moms whose day has been turned right on its head due to tornado weather today. But we can't wait to talk to y'all today. This is Hundley Hilton, Elizabeth, and Janie. We have known them or I have known them for a long time. Our kids are the same age, and we just can't wait to learn about this beautiful business that they've created. They do interior design, and more importantly than that, because they do that so well, is they figured out how to partner really well. Partnership in business is one of the hardest things that I looked for 15 years for a partner in business. And it's really, really so hard. And you do it so well and so effortlessly. So they're going to tell us how they've done that. And so, anyway, without further ado, welcome to Wealth Edit Wednesday. This is our weekly place where we interview brave and interesting women. So we're glad that y'all are on here. And so just tell us a little bit about your story.
I know. Thank you so much for having us. This is so fun. We are two moms, two working women. This is our home office, so welcome. It's behind one of our houses, and so we're lucky to have a space that is close to home, but also our own space. But we started Hundley Hilton about 4 years ago, which is hard to believe.
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah, and it happened sort of organically. We were both women in business prior to having kids, and we both have two children. And just side note, I'm originally from Lexington, Kentucky, but ended up in Birmingham, Alabama after I got married with my husband.
And I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina originally. Definitely, I think we're both like very inspired by where we're from. I was born in Charleston, so I have like a lot of, I think, like Southern and coastal inspiration, and then grew up in Charlotte, and I'm married and living here in Birmingham for the last, I think, 10 years. And Janie and I moved back here, I guess, about a year apart from each other. And our business kind of just started very organically from there. We like did a few little things together. We had like a kids clothing show
a couple of
them.
Yeah, we're doing those actually.
And we were like, we have fun together. And, we had been friends from DC where we met. So it just kind of,
about 15 years ago.
So we know a lot about each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just thought it would be fun to do something creative, and decided that it was time. The kids were going to preschool and elementary school, and we wanted to both get back in the workforce, but in a creative way and on our own terms.
And we had a couple of people ask each of us, like, "Oh, I like your style. Can you come tweak a couple of things in our own home?" So we kind of started that way. And then it was tweaking a couple of things turned into room designs, into full house designs, into this whole other world. So when Elizabeth says it happens organically, it truly happened. All of a sudden we were working a couple of hours a day to full days to, just, it was a lot. And I think that is one thing with business that I always try to tell anyone else, there's interior design, and then there's the business side of interior design. And we're so fortunate because I feel like as a partnership and knowing each other, we have strengths and weaknesses, and we've been able to build on those. And if I get discouraged at something, Elizabeth is always there to fill in that gap. Or if what I lack, I feel like she does so well. So I feel like that has been something that has allowed us, when we have come up with challenges, that has allowed us to continue to move forward and to break through those barriers.
I think Lauren and I agree with that. I shared with, I think I shared this with y'all yesterday, but when we had our New Orleans launch, there was a girl that came up to me that like almost like teared up and said, "I just wish I had a partner." Just because as women we do, it's so nice to have like that person you can like like flesh out a problem with, but then also share like, I'm having a hard day today. And, or, you know, I've got this, or you're better at that. I mean, it just makes it, I think, especially like working and being moms, if you know you have a safety net, it just creates like just so much more peace and confidence as you move forward. So it's like with Lauren, if I'm like, I don't know if I could handle that, but I know if she's with me, we can do it, you know.
Exactly.
I love that y'all found that.
Or if we have to do like, I have kind of a masculine communication style. So if we have to do something real girly, I'm like, hey, Em, you tell me what we're supposed to write. And I'm like, what am I supposed to say now? And she knows. She always knows what to say. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
So true. It's like y'all are similar in that like Janie and I are like the yin to each other's yang.
Mhm.
And like where I fall short or where I lack, she fills in those gaps and vice versa. And we both really have over the last 4 years learned so much about ourselves in a female partnership and our strengths, because women like to talk about everything. We talk through everything. If there is a problem, we are on it. Like we are not going to just like sit there on an issue. So we definitely
it can get feisty, but it gets resolved.
It always gets
You
resolved.
hurt my feelings when you said that, but we're going to talk it out and we're going to figure out how to not hurt each other's feelings.
Immediately gets dealt with.
And I think that's just going back to design. I do think that that's one thing Elizabeth and I do that's different from other design firms is we are the head designers. We also truly work on every project together. So it is truly a labor of my style and Elizabeth's styles merged, which is so fun and I think provides such a unique look. And I do think that having a partnership, we are able to push the boundaries, because maybe something that's safer won't look as good or as cutting edge or as different. And so I think it helps to say like, yeah, I like that. Let's move forward with that. Let's show them that, because that's different.
So true.
Yeah.
I love that, because I think, and that is an important thing that I think y'all may have done deliberately. Maybe it was more organic, but if you are in a partnership, kind of defining not only the things that you do well individually, but like what are things that you really need to do together, because that's where the magic happens. And that's what I feel like when y'all said on the call yesterday, you know, we make all design decisions together. I just loved that. I think when you're considering a partnership, or if you're in a partnership in business, that's a really important thing to, you know, sort of delineate when you're doing some planning.
Yeah. And one thing, okay, so I know that we talk about like strengths and weaknesses. How have y'all delineated like the duties, like who does what? So you make all the design decisions together. So you're working on projects like in a creative way together, but then do y'all separate out duties like marketing or the financials?
Definitely do.
Yes.
Elizabeth is amazing at all of our marketing. She does such a good job, and she was actually has a background in that, and so she
graphic design, really, but I love presentation and like how things are like packaged and how things are put out there. So, and the graphic design background definitely helps with just like Instagram posts and little things like that with social media and other like little avenues that we might explore with marketing and things. So it's fun to actually get to use my degree in this realm, which is similar but different from graphic design.
So she does all of that. I like to call people. I like to be on the phone. I do not like to email. I want to pick up the phone. I want to talk to somebody. So if we ever have an issue or like with pricing or calling our vendors, that's usually my job. And I want to direct
talking
answer.
To people. I love emailing people. And Janie's like, picking up the phone, calling them right now.
Elizabeth is also like she likes to take her time. I'm an Aries, so I'm a bit of a ram, and I want to make that decision. I want to move forward. But Elizabeth,
and I'm a thoughtful Cancer.
Yeah. So Elizabeth is very slow and deliberate, and I am very like, I like it, I love it, let's go. And so I do think we help each other. I push her to pull the trigger, and she
and I make her stop and slow down and make sure we got the details right. So
that's what we say. We say I'm the gas and she's the brake.
And I was like, I hate being the brakes. I always like, I want to be the gas, but then you just realize you have to have both to drive a car.
You do. You really do.
You have to have them both. So it is.
I'm like, yeah, that sofa's perfect. Let's go. She's like, that sofa does not fit in the room. Like, okay. Another one, and let's do it. But it is helpful. So.
Well, I think another thing that y'all have done so well is, you seem to have a lot of friends in the industry. And so kind of tell us how if someone was coming up and wanted to be a designer like you all, or had some special gifts and they wanted to put themselves out there, tell us about how you believe you were able to kind of navigate that scene. Because it seems intimidating if you're not in there. Like I'm like a dorky finance girl. I'm like, how do I pick pillows? I don't know. Anyway, you could help.
I do think that we are so lucky in Birmingham that there are such amazing designers. There's such a great community here. And I think one thing that people do so well is they do their own style. And I think as long as you can be true to your style, there is no competition. Everyone should be supportive of each other. And I think we have felt that support just from day one. We've had some amazing mentors that have helped us along the way and who have supported us. And that has helped, substantially. And I do think that it's important to be kind to people. And I think it's important to be supportive. And I think that will pay off in the long run, whether it's getting a referral from a friend or, getting a shout out from another designer. I think that being kind and being supportive is the best avenue. And there is so much work out there. I mean, especially right now in this community and with what's going on in the housing industry, I feel like it doesn't need to be competitive when everyone has their own unique style. So I think it's when you have your own style, people are going to come to you because they like that style.
Yeah. I think what Janie said, like Birmingham and just the South in general, but like the creative community in this city is so awesome. And it's like really supportive and vibrant, creative community that we have here. And we're so lucky. And I do think in the South in general, there is like such creative support all around and all over, but we have great mentors and great friends in the industry that we all like can, get advice from each other, commiserate on things. And so it really helps to have that. And I think if it for someone getting started in the industry, definitely find, peers, find mentors, and there's so many out there. There's so many great, kind, sweet people that want to help other people like us. Call us.
Yeah. We have been there. It's taken us, 4 years, and we're still working on it. And I do think that's one thing that's hard with interior design is there is no across the board. There's interior design and then there's the business side of interior design. And that is a whole nother challenge. And there's nothing across the board that says, this is how you charge. This is how much you mark things up. This is exactly what a contract should look like. And so each is different. And I think that's a whole nother realm of, or a whole nother side of, our job that we have had to learn throughout the way. And we've had people who we've had to call and say, how do you do this? Do you really pay taxes every month? I mean, things like, they were like, wait, what?
And then some things we've just made up as we go.
Yeah. But we have been lucky. We have friends that will show us their contract and how they charge. And as we've grown, we've been able to learn what works for us and what doesn't. So I think that is also, it's a learning experience, but it's also through the help of our mentors and our friends and the design community as a whole.
Yeah. I love how you say that. And I hope everybody takes note of that, because I know a lot of people that are entering into a new industry are so intimidated by just like stepping out and contacting other people. And also you feel like there's all of a sudden this competition element, but really, like you said, if you know your style and you know who you are, then you just like can move forward with confidence that the right clients will find you. And it's so empowering, really, because then it's also like Lauren and I talk about this, it's like we don't get our feelings hurt if somebody else chooses a different group, because you're just like, we know who we are, we know who we serve best, and we feel like the same goes on the client side. You know, they find their fit and we want that. But with an abundance mentality like that, it makes just the biggest difference. But I think also your prospective clients pick up on that as well. Just that quiet confidence of this is who we are, this is what we do, and what we do really well. So I think that's a great just piece of advice for anybody who's entering the industry, and also just say call. If you really love somebody, I mean, I feel like the people that reach out to us that are just so kind and so encouraging, I've been blown away. And I talk about this a lot, but like coming from, I was an attorney, just a different world completely, into this like entrepreneurship world. And like people are really encouraging and like our cheerleaders. Yeah. And I just love it because I'm like, this is so fun. I didn't even know all this existed. So
and it's great. You set your own rules and parameters, but it doesn't mean it's easy. And so I think that's one thing that we all have in common as entrepreneurs, and even more specifically as female entrepreneurs. We all know that it's a hard road. And while we do set our own hours and we do get to decide how we want to operate and have control of that, it's also really, there's so much of a learning curve, and it's challenging because everything is on your shoulders and you're responsible for it.
And I think that's important also. While we do set our own hours, that may mean we leave at 3 to go get our kids, but then after our kids go to bed, we're working from 9 to 12 at night, or we're getting up early and doing something so that we can take our kids to school or make sure we don't miss that lunch date. Or while I think that, and I will say, going into this business, I was very naive in thinking that I could have my own business and have my own leisure time as well.
Yeah.
And
we both played tennis, and we were like, we can still do that, right? No. We have no time for anything else.
And I mean,
anymore.
hopefully we'll get back there someday. But as of right now, I mean, we are full time. We work as hard as we can. As soon as the kids walk out the door, and then that's important to us as moms. We want to pick our kids up, but we will work late nights. We'll have there's obviously times when we can't pick our kids up. We travel. We have to go to meetings. So. But I do think as women and within this own community that y'all have created, I think it's important to be supportive of that and to set boundaries and to recognize, when crossing the line it's too much, and to pull back. But we'll do as much as we can for our business and for our families.
Yeah. Well, someone just commented, we set our own hours and they're longer.
Yes, they're longer.
They are longer. It's so hard, especially in a creative job.
Yeah.
I'm sure with any job, but it's really hard to shut your juices down. Like I can't shut my creative juices off. Like we go home and Janie and I are still pinging each other back and forth, adding things to folders and, coming up with ideas and shooting each other messages, because you can't just stop thinking about it. So that's kind of hard to make ourselves shut off. And it's something that we work on every day to try to say, okay, I have to shut this off for a minute so that I can really focus and be with my family right now, or, do a different activity or whatever it is.
And I think that's hard just in general with technology. We always have our phones with us, so people know that. But I do think it's important, on the weekends, people have working hours and business hours. So it's important to respect. Weekends, we will respond to you on Monday. If it is a major serious issue, we will get back to you. But usually it can wait till Monday. But I do think just setting boundaries in your own business. And again, it's hard to do that, but
it's really hard. And I mean, I think it's neat how y'all have done this, and it's good for women to know that there is this sort of Goldilocks period of time that happens, when the kids are really tiny. Sometimes it feels overwhelming to work. I couldn't accept as many clients in our private practice when my kids were all under the age of 4. You just really have to pace yourself. And I guess that would work similarly to what y'all do, where you decide how many clients you're going to take on. But then you kind of get this little pocket where you can really put on the gas for a little while, until our kids reach Emily's age, where it's hard again. I mean, it's hard when they're in late middle school, early high school. And so, I don't know, it's been neat to watch, and we try to support each other in all the ways
Mhm.
with that. Cause we know it's just that if you're raising kids, there's all these different phases. And I heard one time, like a male's career trajectory is kind of like this, and women's, it's more like you hit these plateaus. I think it was an Atlantic article. I'll try to find it. But once I read that article, I was just thinking, okay, well, if you know that that's sort of how it's going to go, you can kind of plan for the plateaus and give yourself grace in that time.
Yeah.
And then when it's time to climb up the mountain a little bit more, then you do that too. So
I
anyway.
think
True.
that's so true. And I think that Hundley Hilton kind of came about because we reinvented ourselves and saw a need for a creative outlet that we both wanted, while both wanting to still work and be moms. And I think that is, so important. But it exists because we have a community around us. I mean, it takes a village, truly, to get anything done, at least for me. So I appreciate the support of everyone who helps my world go round.
Oh.
Amen to that, because I have a lot of help. Okay, so let's switch gears just a little bit and let's talk about what are some of the rules or the things that people need to know when working with a designer? Like, what are just like some basic like fundamentals to what you do and like how to respect that relationship? I think because there are a lot of different designers that do it differently, you walk into a relationship and you're not really sure like what the protocol is. Like if you could give 4 or 5 different things to think through, what would they be?
Well, I think it's so important that upfront, we try to be as transparent and open about how we operate as possible, because I think it is really scary to a lot of people to work with a designer, because like we discussed briefly before, there aren't really set rules or guidelines as to how that relationship works in our industry. There are no set parameters for that. So every designer works so differently. And I think it is also because, this is such a personal thing, and, different people operate differently and want different things from a designer. So we try to be open upfront and let people know how we operate, from pricing and billing to, our design aesthetic. And, we think it's definitely important for someone to choose a designer based on their design aesthetic, that you like what you've seen, because that's obviously you need to line up. And always we try to work with our client's style and make their home their own, but it's also going to have our Hundley Hilton flair, our wink, our nod. And so so you definitely want to pick someone based on their aesthetic that you want to work with, and then but also someone that can work within your budget parameters. And we love it when a client can come to us with a budget. Sometimes people don't know how much it's going to cost and they need us to guide them, and we're happy to do that. But if someone has an idea in mind, that really helps to start, and we really try to honor that and stay in that realm if we know. And if we don't, it's kind of hard, because it ends up wasting a little bit of their time and ours, because we spin our wheels and then kind of have to go back to the drawing board sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think going back to that, just kind of summing it up, I think that when you approach an interior designer, as Elizabeth said, knowing who you're looking for. As we said, there's so many different designers within this community, and they're all amazing, and they all have a unique style. And I think pick someone whose style you truly like, that you want in your house, that it's not going to be overwhelming. If you don't like color, we're probably not the right people for you.
Yeah.
If you don't like patterns. So I think that is important to know what your style is and what you like. I also think, as Elizabeth said, it is super important that you have a budget and that you're willing to work within that budget and be realistic, and that you don't, I want this, but I want to spend this. I think, have a realistic budget that you're willing to work with. Or but some people may not know what that budget is, and they may not know what they need to spend or how much wallpaper does cost. So I think like talking with your designer before they start pulling fabrics, or asking if you telling them what you want, like what you're envisioning for that room. I think it's important to talk about the budget, or just kind of ask their opinions.
And what you said yesterday about the rooms, like doing the
I do
whole-
think that like one thing that we always try, if a client comes to us or a potential client comes to us and say, hey, I want to fluff my house, I want to do a couple of things, and we, it's hard for us to come in to, whether it's someone else has been there before, another designer has done work there, or they've kind of just moved in and done their own things, and they just want this and that here. We like to focus on a room. We like to do a house as a whole, but we also like to focus on one room, because if
like completing the full room, not just a pillow here, this there,
if you get the whole room right, then it'll feel good and it'll feel finished. And if you just do like, okay, I'll add this drape here, but I'll wait to do all of this, you also have to remember, well, when you add that one drape here, it's going to look empty if you don't have everything else to go with it. So if you're trying to add a drape here and a drape there, nothing's going to feel finished, versus completing that entire room. When that room is done, then move to another one. We always do like to have, we like to plan everything as a whole, but then you can kind of start with one room, just what you can afford financially. We all know interior design, or to do your home, it's not cheap. So we understand that as well. It's not something that we take lightly. That is,
yeah. And just to add on top of that too, like your home is always transforming, and like you're always building on that foundation. But it's really important, we think, to plan that whole foundation as one piece. And then, and yes, like always, we're always building and changing and transforming how we live in our homes, especially during COVID. But I think what Janie's saying is so important for people to understand is that you're not going to be happy with what we've done if you say, throw a pillow here and do this there. Like, it's important to really focus. And if it has to be that you go room by room with a designer that wants to work, that will work with you that way, because you can't do your whole house at once, or you can't do, but whatever it is, definitely planning the flow from room to room and planning the full space, and having that plan in mind rather than just throwing in pops of this and that makes a huge difference.
I really love that. And I can say I'm like someone that has made so many designers mad, because I ask them how much it costs, and I'm sure I break all the rules. But so we had a private client who worked with Hundley Hilton, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm so nervous about this, because designers and anyway, but they did. I mean, it was so refreshing to have designers that were actually willing to work within a budget. And and the clients do feel self-conscious about giving a budget, because it's interior design, and like y'all are seen as like the tastemakers, the stylists, like the people that people's houses want to be like y'all's. And so it's intimidating. And then there's so many designers too who don't, like, I was just reading one of the comments, and it says, I think people fear designers because some don't respect budgets. And that's totally true, so it's nice. I mean, I can say firsthand as a financial advisor who like tries to help people save money that they are very good at sticking to a budget. And I think that's important, and it gives your practice and what you're building a discipline and integrity that's important. So anyway, that's what I would say there. And then we have some questions, so y'all can type some questions in the chat box. But do you want to ask our last question?
So Janie and Elizabeth, we always ask our guests, why did you say yes to the Wealth Edit?
Well, we love what you guys do, and we think it's so important that y'all are giving a platform for women to gain financial independence and work on growing their financial independence, and we think that's so important that we do have a voice, and we are involved, even if you're married and you feel like, even if your husband is a primary breadwinner in your family, it's still so important for women to be involved in that. And I think even before y'all started this, I hadn't really personally thought about it all that much. And then it's really caused me to think more about how I am involved in my family's finances and my personal finances, and owning our own business that is so important, and it's important for all women. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
I
It's
will
so
second
true. It's like once you start thinking about it, you're like, oh, what else do I need to know? Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
What were you going to say, Janie?
Well, I was just going to second her opinion that it does give us as women a platform, a place to ask questions. Elizabeth and I are lucky that we have a partnership so we can bounce things off of each other. But I think y'all provide a community for women, whether you're working or not. It's important to know financially what's going on in your house. And I do think that it's important for women to have some sort of financial independence, that they don't feel overwhelmed or suffocated within their own lives.
Yeah.
And so I do think that that's really important in a way for you all to reach out to other women.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We also got a question about where you buy your fabulous clothes. You always have the best dresses.
That is really sweet. Yes, we do love vintage. We've got some great vintage people here right in Birmingham that we feel very fortunate to have.
And then shop with Susan Dumas if you're local.
Oh, yeah.
And Kay Quinlan, she set up
yes, go today to Design Supply.
Oh, is she
hopefully she'll be set back up tomorrow because
yes, she said she's going to be in tomorrow because of the storm
today. The tornadoes.
Okay.
It is funny though. I will say, having a business partner that I throw everything off of design wise, even getting dressed on. Like, so what do you think about this? What about this?
We do that too.
Janie, what are you wearing today? Are we gonna match?
But I do think we again can push ourselves out of the boundary even with our clothing, just as partners, and it's fun to express our own style through our clothing. I wish I could say there was one spot, but I think between the vintage and
we're always like digging
all over,
on the internet or local shopping, vintage finds.
Our website's coming soon. Y'all can come shop some of our finds.
Well, that's right.
We are going to put some of our finds on the website.
Yeah, our clothing, high and low. We love
high and low. Same with our interiors.
We like to mix high and low with
our
clothing. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, tell us where people should find you if they want to find you.
Sorry, I missed that one.
Where should people find you if they want to find you and follow you and ask you questions?
Well, check us out on Instagram at Hundley Hilton. And then our website, we have a landing page right now, but we are hoping in the next month to launch our website, which is fun.
Very exciting.
We're giving it a big update.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun, and thanks for being a friend of the Look At It. We hope y'all come back.
Of course. We love what y'all do.
Thank you all.
All right. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.